Hello guys and Happy New Year! My first video of 2016. I know I've been a little bit slack on this channel over the last week or two. I have got a good reason for that though. That's because I've been working on a brand new secret little project, which is actually the reason that I'm recording this video. It's because I wanted to give you guys the first on this, kind of the world premiere, if you like, of my brand new audio podcast. Now, obviously, we've been doing the YouTube channel now for, I think it's been about like 7-8 years now we've been doing this. However, I've always kind of wanted to do an audio podcast as well as a bit of a spin-off. The reason is because obviously with audio, you can, do other things while you're listening. You could be, on the train on the way to work, out shopping or doing work on other things, that kind of stuff. And also it gives you a bit longer to work with, so we can do like an hour each week. And it doesn't really demand your attention in the way that a video does, for example. So earlier on this week, we gave the new podcast a bit of a soft launch. Now, we posted it in just one Facebook group, actually. It really hasn't been put out there to the world yet because I wanted to get you guys' opinion on what you think of it first before we kind of promote it. So you watch my YouTube channel and you are the perfect audience for this because the podcast is called The Retro Hour. And as you'd expect from the name, it's really focused on, retro gaming and retro technology, as you'd expect from me. So we put this out there on Monday, but really I want to find out what you guys think of it. Is it something that we should put out every week? Do you find it interesting? Is there anything that you think we should be covering? Anything we're doing right? Anything we're doing wrong? Now, it's presented by myself and Ravi, who you may have seen on my Amiga Let's Play video that we released at Christmas time. We're going to be doing this every week, and it's going to be focusing on retro gaming and technology news, reviews, opinions, and also we're aiming to get a guest on the show each week who is someone who's, pretty high profile in the world of retro gaming or technology, and somebody who's got a really interesting story to tell. And I say, I think we've nailed that in the first episode. We've got Allister Brimble, who was our first guest on podcast episode number 1. So if you're an Amiga gamer back in the day, you will know Allister's music. He's a guy that did Mortal Kombat, the Amiga port of that, the soundtrack for that. Stuff like Body Blows Galactic, Super Frog, Alien Breed. Allister's a really nice guy, and he's got such an interesting story as well. So we've got this, really interesting 20-minute interview where he talks about what it was like composing music for the Amiga, the realities of dealing with commercial companies and kind of the stuff he had to go through and the challenges that he had to deal with back then, what the Amiga music scene was like. And, it's a really interesting chat, actually. So he's in episode number 1. For episode number 2, we've already secured John Hare from Sensible Software. So he'll be talking about, Sensi Soccer and Cannon Fodder and that kind of thing. Now, the podcast is going to be out every Friday. That's the aim. So it will be kind of, think of it as a little treat for the weekend, if you like. It's going to be an hour long, hence the name The Retro Hour, or thereabouts. And it's going to cover platforms that we find interesting on this side of the pond. So a lot of people have been like, well, there's loads of retro gaming podcasts out there. But really, a lot of them are kind of from the American perspective. They talk about stuff like the NES and the Atari 2600 and ColecoVision, and that's about it. However, we're going to cover the consoles in our podcast, but also going to talk about stuff that was big on this side of the pond and here in Europe, stuff like, the Commodore 64 and the Sinclair Spectrum and the Amstrad CPC range and stuff like, the Amiga and the Atari ST, as you'd expect from my channel. For example, in the first episode, Ravi and I talk about the new Amiga 600 accelerator card, the Vampire FPGA accelerator. We also discuss the Cosmos expansion for the Atari ST that gives the ST stuff like, USB, Ethernet and SD card capability. And we'll also talk about the Dreamcast 2 rumours that have been trending all over recently, as well as that interview with Allister Brimble. So episode 1 is available for download right now. And we've got, I will say, it is a bit of a makeshift website that we just threw up. There is a proper one in the works at the moment that will be launched in the next month or so. But it will give you all the download links. So you can get episode number 1 from the website, theretrohour.com. And also you can download it from SoundCloud as well. Search for The Retro Hour. And also I think we just went live today in the iTunes podcast directory. And if you've maybe got a favourite podcast directory that you use maybe on Android, a Windows phone or on a desktop, any that you think we should get the podcast in, please do let us know about them. We'll try and get the show in as many podcast directories as we can. So there you go. Really, we're putting it out there, a bit of a soft launch and give you guys the first on this to get your feedback. I really do value it. Get the first episode from theretrohour.com. I promise there will be a new video on this channel in the next week or two at the very latest. But in the meantime, enjoy the podcast and let me know what you think.